So let's continue with the Django REST framework. And in this section, we're going to learn how we can fit the REST framework. We need to understand API. What is API? API is Application Programming Interface. So it is a set of clearly defined method of communication among various components. It means when you have the API, you can share the link only, and then other people can use that API to get some data or to send some data, to create some data. Sorry. And this kind of API is also a good communication. So you can use to communicate among various devices. So there are two types of the API. The first is the SOA, or Service Oriented Architecture, and the other is ROA, Resource Oriented Architecture. For a data exchange, it requires a protocol. So protocol is something we can say is like gateway or OA. The first protocol, which is very common all days, is SOAP. And nowadays, REST is the more popular one. SOAP, it stands for Simple Object Access Protocol. So it is a messaging protocol specification for exchanging structured information in the implementation of web services in computer networks. REST is representational state transfer. It is a term coined by this guy, Roy Fielding, to describe the architecture style of network system. So this kind of protocol, it helps the API can be used for the network. And in the API itself, we can distinguish into three parts. We can have the private API. The private API means the API is only for the internal company. You can have the partner API. The partner API is specifically only business partner. So for example, if you know about Uber Eats, or maybe like the Coupang Eats, Lotte Eats, they share their API to their business partners. That's why the restaurant, you can connect to the API, the Coupang Eats or the Paymin, and then they can connect with the services from the Paymin. The public API is available for the use of public, so you can use it for free. For example, you can get the weather API, so you can know what is the temperature today in Yongin. And you can also get another kind of API, for example, Google Books and etc. So if you want to look at Uber, let me check. So when you are a developer and you want to connect to the Uber API, then it shows how you can connect to that API. And I guess in the Kakao server, they also have that API. So if you are the, if I'm not mistaken, if you are the Kakao developers, okay, you can connect to this one. So you can log in with your ID, and then you can get the Kakao API. So you can utilize any API from Kakao. and also from neighbor. And there are many other public APIs. So these are some of the examples. So you can utilize this one. Let's say you want to see any kind of entertainment. So it is about the, it's about technology, entertainment, and meme, fun fact, and etc. So you can utilize this one. In Google also they have many kind of API that you can utilize. So this Google, they provide this kind of API clients. So whenever you use the Python or the API client, you can have in your device without online. So you can reuse this one and then do some Google function in offline. So let's try to learn the details about this API. So in API, we need to know about some of the elements. So these basic elements, actually, it is based on the SOAP. They are available in the SOAP. So in the SOAP, we need to define what is the proxy, what is the gateway. And then we need to understand the connectors, who is the client and who is the server. And we need to understand what is the data. So it means who are the resources and what are the representations. But when we deal with the REST, the representational state transfer, so it ignores the component implementation details. So it means we do not need to understand about the proxy. We don't need to understand about the gateway. So we just focus on the component, like the resources and the representation, and then just connectors, whether it is client or server. So it focuses on the roles of the components and their interaction and their interpretation of data elements. So it's more focused on the data rather than SOAP. That's why people now try to use REST more than SOAP. Let's figure out the basic one about the resource and then URI or Uniform Resource Identifier. And what is the web page? What is the correlation between those? So we call this is REST. So why we call it is REST or representational state transfer? Because whenever we have the resources that give you the REST, let's say client. So client, maybe you will make your own website, and then you will make your own team project, and then you want to connect to the weather data. So you can just use the API, and then you just utilize the resources from here, and then you will show the data, the weather data in your application. So you don't need to make the code, you don't need to install the sensors, you don't need to get any, you don't need to create any database. So you just get all the data from these resources, and then you can just show it. So the REST is the architectural style of network system. It is underlying the architectural model of the World Wide Web, and it guides framework for web protocol standards. So in the web services, there are many REST, like the online shopping or the search services or the dictionary services. They are using this kind of REST. So I believe the Kupang, Cimarket, Cipilbonga, they use this kind of REST. So I guess I just give you the short comparison between the SOAP and REST, because some old websites they still use SOAP. If it is using the SOAP, then you need to define the protocol. Okay, so like what I mentioned to you, the protocol means you need to define the proxy, you need to define the gateway. But if it is REST, then it is just an architecture. So you need to define what is the format in the JSON, and then what data type, what the data tag that you need to get, and etc. In the function, so the SOAP, you need to have the function driven. So you need to define what is the function, the get function or the set function. If you're studying the computer programming, we have the get, set, and etc. But in the REST, it's more data driven. So it's directly what is the field name. And the data format in SOAP, currently it is only for the XML. And in the REST, it allows another kind of format. For example, the plain text, TXT, HTML, XML, and also JSON. So that's why people now move to REST. For the security, so the SOAP use the old style security like the web service security and SSL. And as you know, these days people use the HTTPS. It's more secure. Yeah, for the bandwidth, I think I will not discuss this one because it's about the network. For the data cache, so the data can be cached or it can be stored in your computer. But the SOAP, the data cannot be stored. And other kind of component, maybe I will not discuss in detail. So let's try to make the basic REST. Okay. Let's install it in our environment. You can take a look on the details if you want to know more about the Django REST framework. Here is the site. So there are many applications use this Django REST framework. So let's install it in the our environment. So you can do in two ways. So you can open the terminal here. So the terminal means this is the Anaconda, similar to the Anaconda from, and it is directly in the project directory. So you can type this one, pip install Django REST framework. Okay, I already have the Django REST framework in my computer. So if you are the first time to use the REST, so please install it. After you install this REST framework, then you will get this kind of message. If it is correctly installed, then there will be no problem. Okay, so let's continue with the project basic REST. Now, I would like to make a kind of app. Okay. So let's make an app, and the app name is push. Okay, I will make push. After I make the push, then you will see that we will have one more folder or one directory, and the directory name is push. Okay, I think you are now familiar how to make the app. Okay, so this is the app push. And then for this post, let's make this model. Okay. I think by now you already understand that we have 4 columns: title, content, created at, and updated at. And each of this one, they have the data characteristics, the character, text, and then date time field and date time field. In this case, auto now at true, and then auto now true. So I will do this one on the models.py. Okay, so you can update the models.py with the code that I give to you. And then in the admin side, let's make the register. So I will make the application register in the admin side. So whenever you go to the admin, you can fill in the data. And then in the setting.py, let's put this app. Okay, so post.apps.postconfigs. This is the app's name that we are going to use. And then let's make the super user. You can do with the make migration. Maybe let me just use this. I will use the run manage.task. I will make migration and then I will migrate and then create super user. I will make migration and then I will migrate. And then I will create super user. So if it is blank, it will use IME. Maybe I will just use, okay, just for my easy memory, I will just use the ID admin and then I will use this password. I will use admin and then I will use okay. So I have my admin and then I have the password. So now let's put this tree data into the admin page. Oh, do this one. So the admin name is admin, and then my password is hub IAM203, and then I have the post. Okay. And let's see. I'm going to create 3 posts. Okay, so the first post is hello world. The title is first post. and then the content is hello world, and save and add another. The second post is second post, and then the content is function word. Okay, just yeah, this is just a random like this. And then I have the third post. And let's say this is the algorithm word. See, so we have 3 posts. Okay, after I have these 3 posts, let me wait. Now, I would like to add the framework because this is the REST framework. So if you see in this install app, you can put one more additional library. In this case, I'm using the REST underbar framework because we already installed the REST framework in our if you're using the Anaconda, so we are putting the installation of the library in the Anaconda folder. So I already have those library, and you need to call what framework that you are going to use. And the REST framework will be called, or the REST framework will be used in this application. Now, for the basic RESD, let me make a new file, serializers.py. Serializers. So these serializers will connect to the REST framework, and there is a component in the REST framework, we call it serializers. So these serializers will connect to the model. So in this case, our model has the post. Okay, this is the name of the table, or this is the name of the class. Okay, the class name is post. So I'm going to connect to this post, and all this data that will be shared through this REST framework is this one: ID, title, content, created at, and updated at. That means I will share all the columns in this class. Now, let's do with a very simple API. I will use this code, and let's create views.py in the post folder. So in the post, we have view.py, and then let's replace with this one. Okay, we will look more details later. Let's make a URLs. Okay. Let's make the urls.py in this post. So I will make urls.py. And if I'm having nothing in this link, I will go to the post list as view. So this is the REST framework function. And then if I go to a particular number, then it will go to the detail. Okay, so let's continue first. Update the URLs in the parent folder, so the parent folder can go to the post application. So I'm using this. Let's call the API. Okay. So in the URLs, in the main or in the parent folder, you can put this API, and there is one error which is include. In this case, we need to import this name, and we are going to import using the Django URLs. So there is an include. It is to check the path. Yes. Okay, after everything is okay, now let's run. If you run, your API, then you can see your data. Now your data is in the format of JSON. Okay. So you can see here the format now in the form of JSON. So you can share your data. So I'm just using very simple REST framework. And if you want to check the data, you can put 1. Okay. What happens if you put 1? Then you will see only one data, which is the ID number 1. If you put this one 2, then you will see only the data number 2. If you see this one 3, then you will see the data number 3. Okay. So you can see here, you can get, okay, in this case, you can get the format, whether you want to get the format in JSON, and it automatically creates the JSON format, or if you want to get the API, then it means you will just copy this one. So in this options, it will just give you what is the format of this one. Okay. So we are going to do something more with the CRUD. I guess you already know CRUD. So create, flip, update, and delete. And we are going to use the REST framework. So instead of using the database, or if you just make the admin page and then make the data there, so we can make the REST framework, and you can just share the API, and other members or team members can connect to your API, and then they can update with the data. So as you might know, when we create, so we have the insert in the SQL, and then in the HTTP we have put or post. So what we already did now is to get. This is get. It means just read. If you want to update, so we need to make this one to put or post or fetch. Or if we want to delete, then we can just destroy. Okay, I will explain this one later, because we need to run some experiment with this API view. Okay, I'll stop. Any questions?